Welcome to EJH Bridge Cars. Today I thought we'd do something a little easier. We're going to put a Pertronix unit into a Lucas distributor. So this is a distributor. It came from British Parts Northwest up in Oregon, and it's not actually a Lucas one. It must be some kind of a aftermarket, but it's a pretty good copy. Even says 25D up on top here. I suppose the big difference is it has a vacuum advance with just a nipple on it instead of a threaded connection, but we can work around that. Actually looks pretty nice. It's a little more of a sandblast kind of a finish than the Lucas, but I think that's fine. So let's get this one up. So to start, we're going to need to get the old point setup out of here. So we'll use the rotor again, so we'll keep that. And then this is the screw for the condenser. And the screws that hold the points in. It's a lot easier when you can turn the distributor upside down, as opposed to when it's in the car. All right, let's get that stuff off. I'm not quite sure how this piece is held on. Does not seem to be part of the point plate, which on the Lucas ones I think it is. Oh, there it goes. It just pulls out. Okay, good enough. I don't expect we're actually going to reuse this ground. Well, we'll leave it there for now. Anyway, it says to take, this is the replacement point plate, and it goes on here. So we ran into a little problem. This is the advance plate off the new distributor, and it uses metric screws. Okay, and that's fine for this one, but this screw is a screw that's supplied with the Pertronix kit, which screws into the original advance plate, which has imperial thread. So I found the right tap, and I think it was 1024, I believe. But then the problem was that it was hitting back here. So I cleaned it out with the Dremel tool and the grinder. I have to admit that now that I look at this, that bolt's just flush. So maybe I didn't have to do that, because your mileage may vary. But at least now, this thing's still hot from working on it. That the plate rotates like the way it's supposed to. So anyway, so 1024 tap. This is the bolt hole that the points were held onto. This screw goes into this hole that held the condenser in place. So again, I just used one of the screws that came with the distributor, and that's fine. So hopefully that should fit. So I need to take this plate off now because it also goes over this pin that takes the advance. So I need to get this off so I can put the advance back on. So we will do that. Take this screw back out, and that one. There we go. Here's the new distributor, and this goes with those facing that. Here is one of the screws. There we go. That's that tight. That's that one tight. And need to move to the distributor plate. So we can lift this spring. There we go. And that just pushes over there and pushes to the bottom. Get that wire out of the way. This hole that's got the a little notch in it, sort of a horseshoe hole. Goes over that race spot on the points, which is the spot where the that went into this hole in the points. There's the flathead screw. And then I thought, I'm going to put this in here. I might also bolt this grounding wire back down. Again, I don't think this is probably necessary, but I don't think it's going to do any harm either. There we go. So I slid the magnet over. That's the 4-cylinder one. And then this goes on this way. You can see it's a fairly close gap. And then they supply 2 washer nuts. So they have like a star washer built in. I'll run those down. These are 5/16. So just want to snug those up. Remember, the correct torque is not 1/4 turn pass broken, as so many people seem to think. So that's good. And then this rubber grommet goes in here like that. And then you can see those are rubbing right there. So we want to adjust that. There we go. Matter of fact, since we've got this loop of wire right here, why don't we take that out. And we'll run these 2 wires inside of this one. And hopefully that will keep it from interfering with the rotating parts of the assembly. There we go. Sling that back down. Good. And there you go. In the kit they also supply a little zip tie which you could use to tie this off to. I suppose you could probably catch it around the hole for the condenser or something like that. But this seems like it'll work. And then there's the rotor button. This is actually a type of distributor cap used on an MGB, but it's what came with the distributor. And I have a proper side entry one, which is the Triumph type. But for now, we're just going to leave this on here, and it will protect the distributor. And if it gets broken, I won't cry. There's the other. So later on, after the car is put together, it'll be easy enough. The black wire goes to the ground side of the coil, which is a negative ground, so that'll be negative. And the Pertronix do make positive ground igniters, but that is not this. So just you want to make sure you get the right one. And then this needs to go to a pure 12-volt switched, ignition switched point or power source. So on the TR2 it won't matter because the coil is 12 volts clean, but like a TR6 has resistance wire in the feed to the distributor. So when it's just running, it's only running on 7 or 8 volts. So one easy way to tell, 2 easy ways, you can put an ohm meter or a voltmeter on it and see what the voltage is just running. And then the other thing is there's typically 2 wires to the distributor, one from the start position on the key switch, so it usually runs off of the back of the starter solenoid, and that has 12 volts clean, but it's only 12 volts, has no voltage in the run position. And then Sometimes there is a third wire, which is a feed for the tachometer, and I don't think that's true on a TR6, but I don't know off the top of my head. But again, for the TR2, the 12 volts to the coil is 12 volts clean because it's not a ballasted resistor. It's internally ballasted. So that should do it. Looks pretty good. Nice tight fit on that grommet fitting. Keep the moisture out. And like I say, it's a pretty nice looking distributor. It's got the advanced retard, though it does not seem to have the little lock plate in there. So it is pretty stiff to turn. So you could either, if you've got an old distributor, you can take that little piece of spring metal out of there and put it in, or just use this as it is, because I don't really think it's going to vibrate around. Or you could just Loctite it, because I typically set the timing with the clamp and then I don't mess with it. I mean, in the owner's manual, the factory manual, what it tells you is to set the points with the engine shut off. So you advance the distributor till the test light turns on, and that should be with the motor at top dead center on compression on number 1, and that should be 0 degrees. And then they tell you to wind this in until you get knock under or engine pinging under acceleration, and that's in some ways, I mean, in the 50s, early 60s, gasoline was really pretty kind of hit and miss. That in the cities it was pretty good, and the further you went afield, the worse the gas got. That when these cars were sold new, TR2, TR3, TR4, they had a, I don't know what they call it, a touring package or something. It was a set of, it was a whole kit of stuff that came that was supposed to be anything that would normally break on an excursion when you're away from part sources. So it would have like a fuel pump in it and a coil, and a couple of things it had is it had a thick head gasket, so you could use that to reduce the compression to allow for local gasoline of low octane. And of course it had valve cover gasket and some plugs, points, rotor condenser, fan belt, all those sort of normal consumable maintenance items. Anyway, so that's done. Nothing left to do but bolt it into the car. I need to do the screw that was in here, because this is the clamp off the old distributor, was something somebody put in and it was bent. So I want to go pick up a new screw. I'll probably get a stainless steel one, and then this will be complete. So I hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Please, please hit the like button. It makes a big difference, and less than 1% of people seem to do that, and it doesn't take much. You can do it while you're watching the video. Anyway, we will see you next time. Have a good one.